this time next week, we would have had the budget. We'll know exactly how Rachel Reeves plans to fill the black hole. And I guess we'll be reflecting on what that potentially means. As of right now, though, I've come across an article today in the Telegraph, which is talking about what they expect to be in and out of the budget next week. And some of it is not a surprise. There are a couple of things that if they if she introduces this will be brutal, really brutal. So I'm hoping that that isn't the case, but we will shortly find out. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. We're at the final stretch right now. All the speculation will come to an end soon, and we'll know exactly what we need to do to shore up our finances and how to deal with all this stuff. And I'm sure mitigation uh, tactics will also come to bear once we know how everything's going to be laid out in front of us. But for now, please tell me what you think in the comment section down below. And before we jump in, we're trying to get to 80,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you do enjoy this video, you pick up something, please consider subscribing and also hit that like button as well so this video gets pushed to other people who may need to see it. I'm just going to jump straight into the article here, okay? So this is it. Labour budget predictions, what's in, what's out. Now, they've cut this into categories, so let's start with the most interesting one first, I suppose, income tax. Now, what they're planning on doing, what's in, is threshold freezes. This is not new. We've spoken about this. The plan is to extend the income threshold freezes beyond 2028 to 2030. What this means for you is that if you earn more money, you get promotions, pay rises, bonuses, you're likely going to move into the next tax bracket. And this has been rumored to generate quite a lot of money for the government in the coming years, heading up to 2030, as the fiscal drag means that people will pay higher taxes. What's out? Rate increases. So no 2p income rate, which is what we thought was going to happen because of the press conference Rachel Reeves had the week before last now, where she stated the case for difficult decisions, one of which was expected to be income tax rises. They've done a U-turn on that. Rate increases tempered by national insurance cuts. So no increases there, no threshold cuts. Reversing NI exemptions on limited liability partnerships. That's not going to be the case. That's not going to help, businesses, solicitors that have LLPs. National insurance on landlords. I think that one is a good one for landlords, particularly with the Renters' Right Bill that has just passed. I think that will be welcomed by landlords. Let's go down to the next category, property. So what's in? Revaluing and introducing a council tax surcharge for properties in bands F, G, and H. There's also going to be, according to them, mansion tax on the most valuable homes, possibly over £2 million. Now, I think with the council tax bandings, the bandings are the F, G, and H. Obviously, the bigger the house, the higher you are on the banding, right? So I think these may be welcome to try and make the council tax system more fair, I suppose. So I think that would be welcome. The mansion tax is a mixed one because I've done a video on this, and if you haven't seen it, maybe it's worthwhile going to watch it. But a lot of people who are going to be impacted by the mansion tax are going to be people inside the M25, and that isn't what you would picture a mansion to be, like a great big house. This will be people with apartments in central London who may be cash poor, asset rich. The house, the apartment, the property is their main asset. They've got all of their wealth locked into that. They don't necessarily have cash per se. So how she's going to position this, whether it will be over 2 million or whether she'll say, okay, over 10 million, will be interesting. I think if she increases it beyond 2 million, you're likely going to capture more of the proper wealthy people who have properties that are, for all intents and purposes, just investment vehicles, often left vacant without really being used. It's just a vehicle to park money in. I think if she moved up to 10 million, perhaps she captures more of those people than people who may have just bought a property in London in the 1970s, now worth 2-3 million quid, but they don't necessarily have cash assets. They're not cash rich. The other thing here, scrapping stamp duty perhaps replaced by a tax on sellers. This has also been mooted. I think this will be great for first time buyers for sure. This will definitely help with the property market and help them get on property ladder, not having that additional cost. So I think that will be welcomed. What's out? Complete counter tax overhaul, land tax are completely out on property. Now, pensions. This is one that I have close to my heart. What's in? Capping salary sacrifice perks. We spoke about this last week. It looks like it is going to be the case. If you've not watched the video on that, I'd encourage you to go watch that, because if you are using salary sacrifice, it's likely to going to be in the budget next week. So you need to know what the deal is and how you might deal with it. I provided a scribe that kind of explained how it works currently and what a change to it would potentially look like if they introduced a cap on the amount you can salary sacrifice before national insurance contributions, or NI, is payable by your employer and possibly by you. What's out? Cutting or scrapping the pension lump sum. This is fantastic news. I mean, again, we've made a video on this. It's currently £268,000. Rumors of it going down £100,000. You know, I think, who was it? Torsten Bell was thinking about £40,000. Crazy. Leaving this alone, I think, will keep incentivizing people to save into a pension, because the fact that you can take 25% from your pension when you hit a certain age is definitely an incentive. As a financial advisor, I've seen clients take that money, clear debts, pay off their mortgage to set them up for the retirement that they've worked towards. So leaving this alone, I think, is absolutely fantastic. Introducing a flat rate of pension tax relief. This one here, I think, is probably a good thing. I mean, the argument that I have about this is that they talked about having a flat rate, and they were possibly thinking about, I think it was going to be like 33% or something like that, which meant that if you're at the lower end of the income spectrum, not paying as much in, the tax relief that you'd get would be much, much larger. And for if you're on the higher end of the earning spectrum, you know, where you're paying 45, maybe 60% tax, yes, you lose, but you're earning more, so your contributions are more. If it's invested, then obviously it can compound to a larger amount. That would have helped people at the lower end. I think for people at the higher end of the earning spectrum will welcome this. For those on the lower end who probably are not the ones who are putting into pensions already and need to be putting money into pensions, this could have been a useful policy to introduce to help and give an incentive. And we know that we're not investing anywhere near enough in pensions to cater to our retirement needs at the moment. And that, again, in turn puts pressure on the state pension and the triple lock. So maybe this is something they revisit next year. Who knows? Let's move on. Savings and investments. Now, oh my God, what's in? I was speaking to someone yesterday. That video will be out shortly, probably next week, early next week, where I think it is now pretty much set in stone that we're going to see a cut in the ISA cash limit, the cash ISA limit. We've heard rumors of £10,000, £4,000. I heard yesterday between 12 and 15, and this article is confirming £12,000. So cutting the cash ISA limit to £12,000. The idea behind this is to get people investing. So you're going to have a £12,000 cash ISA limit, but on your stocks and shares ISA, you will get £20,000 still. So if you're saving more than the £12,000 per year, you would have no other place to put it but in a stocks and shares ISA. That would be positive, because yes, we're not invested enough. It will definitely help. But my big concern there is the understanding of how investing works. We are well behind as a nation when you compare ourselves to our peers in America. Even the Germans are better at investing than we are. So this I take with a pinch of salt. It's bad if you're trying to put money into cash, but it's great as a way to, I'm not going to say incentivize, because it's incentivize for me doesn't feel like the right word. To force people to invest is what I would probably say is what they're trying to do. I can get on board with this, although it comes at a cost. What's in? Dividend tax increase. I mean, if you're selling stocks, your company director taking dividends, you're getting dividend income, you're going to get hit there. Also, dividend tax-free allowance cut. So what is the dividend tax-free allowance right now? I can't even remember. It's low. I think it's like £3,000. I'll put it on the screen. What are they going to cut it to? I mean, give me a break. Give me a break. I mean, anyway, what's out? Cutting the cash ISA limit to £4,000 or £10,000. Like, this is such an unnecessary thing to put in there. So you're trying to tell me that we're going to cut it to £12,000, by the way, but here's a little bit of spin. We're not going to cut it to £4,000 or £10,000. And this is part of the tactics of allowing rumors to percolate in the media and on social media, on channels even like mine, when we talk about this kind of stuff, because now it makes it out to be quite generous that they've only cut it to £12,000. It wasn't 4 or 10,000. We haven't halved it. We haven't cut it by a fifth. We haven't given you a fifth of the allowance that you had before. It's very, very interesting. But at least, at least they're not going to take the ISA cash limit down to 4 grand, eh? I guess that's a positive. Tax on motorists, there is going to be a pay per mile tax on EV drivers and fuel duty rise. Now, I drove a Tesla for 10 years in the UK. I definitely benefited from no road tax. I definitely benefited from, free parking in London for an extended period of time, and free charging, because I had I bought a Tesla back in 2016 before they were even popular. And since then, we've seen a massive adoption of electric vehicles, and you've been incentivized, you've been encouraged to do so. I mean, look, it was never going to last, the fact that you didn't have to pay road tax and all this kind of stuff. But having a pay per mile, if you're doing a lot of miles per year, and you might have people in businesses that will buy these things for business mileage, if you're doing over 30,000 miles a year, that's a pretty hefty bill to pay, depending on how much per mile they charge. This is the one that I'm really, really, really hoping they don't do. All right, this is on the inheritance tax. What's in? Lifetime cap on gifts. Okay, I can kind of get on board with that. It's not too bad. Removal of the residence nil rate band. This one's big. I'm trying to contain myself right now. I was reading this earlier, and I just seething, and I'm still seething right now. Removal of the the residency nil rate band is a piss take. Just think about this right now, right? If you're a married couple with the nil rate band, just the normal nil rate band, £325,000, I think it is. I'll put the correct numbers on the line. I sometimes get these mixed up. And your residence nil rate band being somewhere between 125, 175 takes you to £500,000 per person. As a couple, that's £1 million. If they take that away, it lowers the inheritance tax threshold, pulling more people to pay inheritance tax of 40%, or your kids, your beneficiaries, paying inheritance tax at 40%. All I'm going to say is this: you need to start evaluating all of your assets, your home, cash, investment, whatever it is that you have, and get an understanding of whether your kids or your beneficiaries, your intended beneficiaries, are going to have an inheritance tax bill when you pass things on to them. The removal of this is a piss take. Change to the 7-year tapering rule. So the minute you gift, you get a taper relief 7 years. If that completely goes, that basically means that there is no relief whatsoever. You end up paying more inheritance tax. You'll end up paying more inheritance tax, or more tax, really, as a result of that. These ones are the ones where I'm like, okay, this is brutal. This is brutal because, again, thinking about property specifically, where property prices have gone up so much, you're going to capture so many more people with this. And I'm going to be interested to see what the financial planning mitigations will be now. But I think for anyone, you need to start looking at your asset base and evaluating what you have, so you can identify whether you have a potential bill, or your beneficiaries are going to have a potential bill. Wealth tax. What's in? Probably nothing. Probably nothing. What's out? Well, there isn't going to be no wealth tax, and there isn't going to be any exit taxes either for people who are leaving the country. I think the exit taxes is positive, but like I said in the video last week, if you look at Europe, The UK and Italy are the only two countries in Europe that don't have an exit tax right now. So at some point, I think that will be revisited in the future. Other taxes to watch out for, they're saying here, taxi tax, milkshake tax, gambling tax. I can see gambling tax, tourism tax. I can see that. Cap on cycle to work schemes. Those are other things that are likely going to be in the budget. I mean, that's it really for this article. What I'm going to do is I'm going to link them down below, so you can go and read this if you want to. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I mean, the inheritance tax one for me is the big one. It's brutal. It's uncalled for. Maybe I'm just, I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit jaded now. Okay, I'm just looking forward to cover it next week and everything gets revealed as to what we're going to be dealing with, and we can crack on from there. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on Friday. Cheers.